So much about the
What would you say if I turned into all the things you love to hate? And on my way comes crashing through the rotten beams and window panes.
Hey everybody, what is going on? We are back. It is episode 42, and I am excited to be back, guys. Hey everybody, what is going on? It is your host, as always, the host with the most, Dan Brosman. How are you guys doing? And now I know you're asking yourselves, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the same area that you normally have your podcast. This is for other things. Well, little, you got me. Over, a little confession here, over on my table there, I've had projects going on for the last couple weeks that I've been working on down here, and it is a mess up there, and I am just too lazy to go over there and clean it up. And plus, I have the better audio interface over here, which I think I'm going to start using for all our podcasts. I don't know why I haven't been using it for everything. But over there, I have the Behringer that I hook up to, that I do our recordings through for a lot of our podcasts. But then last year I bought this Focusrite, which I had another Behringer over here, a smaller one, that's a little bit more simple. And I ended up going with this one because the other one, you put the headphones on, the monitor your sound, and you'd only get sound out of one ear, which is really weird. And when I looked it up, it seemed like that's what was the norm. Everybody was saying, yeah, that's just how that works with that Behringer one. And I was like, no, that's ridiculous. So I bought this Focusrite, which is more money. But I got to be honest with you, I think the sound is not way better, but it's noticeably better. So I'm going to start using this, I think. The only thing is, over there, I'd been using the Behringer for a while because it has 4 outlets. And, because when I started the podcast, I was like, I'm going to get, all these people every time for everything. And, I'm going to have 4 mics and we're all going to be here. Well, as it turns out, getting people to give up their time and come and do the podcast with me is difficult. And especially since I don't know that many gamers like myself in this area. All the other people that I am friends with in the gaming community are pretty much out of state, except for Chris Pico. Chris Pico lives up in Chicago. I don't quite live up in Chicago. I'm in what they call the Chicagoland area. So, whatever. But yeah, so that's why we're right here. I had the mic and everything picked up, already hooked up. Plus, I want to see, because maybe I'll do it from here every now and again. Because, sometimes it's nice to be sitting here and just doing it while you're sitting down. But I like the other spot too. The other spot's pretty cool. You got the arcade in the back or whatever. But yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on here. Man, guys, I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're having a wonderful today. Today, as you listen to the greatest podcast ever, probably ever to be. I don't think there's going to be a better podcast than this. But I am doing great. As far as things that have been going on around with me, I just got back about 2.5 weeks ago. I guess it's just not got back, but 2.5 weeks ago, got back from the Milwaukee Gaming Classic the Midwest Gaming Classic up in Milwaukee, rather. And, that is always so much fun. So many people to see there. You got your Captain Algebra, you got Wes and Robert and Brian Newland from Gaming Off the Grid. You have Megadan 29 and I'm trying to think who else. Chris Pico from midlife crisis media. Used to be the old ass gamer, and for whatever reason, I forgot what he told me why he had to change his name. So if I get his channel name wrong from time to time, forgive me, Chris. It's gonna take me a minute to get used to the new name. And then who else was there? There were other YouTubers like Mega Matt was there, and just a whole bunch of other people. Gary from Rock Solid Gaming. I like to say gaming. I know it drives him nuts because he's like, it's not gaming, it's production. It's Rock Solid Productions. It's like, okay. You're a Brewers fan, Gary. I mean, please. You got bigger things to worry about, like where your Brewers are going to end up at the end of the season in the garbage. Anyway, I'm just joking. No, they are going to be in the garbage, though. So, yeah, I mean, and I was going to take video this time, and I just didn't. Over the last handful, three, I would say 3 conventions, I just kind of stopped doing that, like convention stuff as far as the channel goes, just because I just wanted to enjoy some of them. Sometimes when you go and you're like, now I gotta get that shot. I gotta do some interviews with people. I gotta make sure I cover this, I cover that. And, and I did take my stuff to do that. And then after we were there, I was just like, I just don't feel like doing that because I just want to spend time with the people that I don't normally get to see that often throughout the year. So, so Milwaukee Gaming Classic. If you're in the area, if you're in the Midwest, and you've always been interested in going to a convention, they do such a fantastic job up there with entertainment, with the arcade room, which was, I mean, it's always pinball heavy, but it was super pinball heavy this time. Tons of machines to play, tons of vendors. I mean, I think they had more vendors this year than they've ever had. So many booths out there. So many. I just want to talk about too, like when you go to these conventions and like the artists that they have there that have these booths, and I just want to buy so much stuff. That's the problem with going to conventions. There's so much stuff I want to buy. I kind of freeze because I never know what I really want to pick up. I used to have a list of like, well, these are the games I want, whatever, and I just don't do that anymore because which I probably should. I mean, really, it would probably help me out when I get there, but I've kind of been shooting from the hip lately, and just going and seeing whatever they have is whatever I pick up is whatever I pick up. But so anyway, it was a good time. If you're in the Midwest next spring, stop on out. It's always a good time. We have Mo Game Con coming at the end of July, and that is down near St. Louis. And I believe if you're in Illinois on the weekend, I think it's June 1st is the Illinois Game Con, I believe it's called, down in Bloomington. I have always wanted to go. I was going to go this year. And it turns out my son has a concert that he's a drummer and just started drumming this year. And one of their first concert is on that day. Every year, it is the closest convention to me. And I hear that it's good. Every year I try to go and I can't because something comes up. And I'm not a busy guy, but one of these years I'm going to get down there and see what it's all about. But though anyway, so that's what's been going on around here, working on other projects, working on my emulation project, which I'm going to do a video on pretty soon. Actually, after I get done making this video or this podcast episode, that's going to be the next thing on my list to do. So, yeah. So what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about today? And, the problem is with being off for almost a year, things have come and gone that I didn't talk about, and now Now, follow-ups to those are coming out, and I'm kind of behind the 8 ball here. I gotta play catch up here. And one of those things is Rebel Moon, which is a movie by Zack Schneider on Netflix. And if you're not familiar with what Rebel Moon is, now we're talking about this because Rebel Moon came out last year. And the second one, Rebel Moon 2, The Scargiver, came out this past week. Okay. And the reason why we're talking about this is that, or rather, the first one is because, there was a big build-up to this. I'm a big sci-fi guy. I think what you're going to find out as far as movies on this channel is that most of what I'm going to talk about has to do with sci-fi or in the fantasy world, Marvel, DC, superhero stuff. And Rebel Moon was really touted as being like the next big thing. Like, Netflix has given Zack Snyder like carte blanche to do with whatever he will, and it wasn't just going to be one movie. It was going to be at least two, because it was supposed to be this whole new franchise, just not one movie. It was going to be like a whole continuing, thing going on here. And I just want to say before we go on here, because it's easy for people like me that have a little mic and a little camera and put it up on the internet, and complain about stuff that we ourselves couldn't do better on our best day, which is true. I couldn't make stuff that these guys make because I don't know how to do that. When I complain about something, it's from ignorance, me not being able to do that. I understand that. Okay. I want to say that. I also want to say, look, I am the guy who, when I complain about stuff with Star Wars, when I complain about stuff with Star Trek, I'm always like, hey, why are you doing all this different stuff? Okay. Why are you doing this to my franchise? If you want to make a movie like that, go and make something that is, new, some sort of new idea. Go make a new franchise, okay? And that's what's happened here. They went and they wrote a whole new story, which I'm not going to lie, is a really big kind of, I don't want to say it's a Star Wars knockoff, but it definitely takes some liberties from Star Wars, right? If you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. And they've taken it and they've made their own story into a new franchise. Unfortunately for Netflix and Zack Snyder, it's not good. It is not good. As we say in the business, it is no bueno, for sure. Where do I start? Now, the first one is really it's really not good. The writing's horrible. The story is very predictable and not great. I mean, I had everything pieced out, 10 minutes into this movie. The characters are not great. Just the whole thing is very thin as far as character development, the character curve, as far as, where they start off and where they end. Okay. That being said, now they came out with the second one. And the first one just came out this last year. So when the first one came out, they were balls deep into making that second one already. I would assume. They would have had to been. There's no way they could have turned around, like had that one, because it hasn't been that long since that last one was on. I think it was like last summer that it came out. So, so they came out with the second one, right? The first one didn't do great. Not a lot of people liked it, if anybody. I don't know anybody that did. And so they made the second one. And I got to be honest with you. The second one sucks too. Yeah. Did you think I was going to say it was good? No, it's not good. You know why it's not good? Because either you've already heard that it's not good, or you haven't heard anything, and you're still sitting there going, what's Rebel Moon? Look, it's a big swing and a big miss for Zack Snyder and for, Netflix. And, I gotta hand it to Netflix too. And I bust on Netflix all the time here. But they deserve it so much here. If you guys, all I hear from Netflix is, well, we're losing money and we're going to have to figure out ways to make more money and this and that. And you guys are spending all this money on making these movies, okay? And you do barely any promotion of any of these movies. I'm sorry, but a trailer put out on YouTube is not promoting anything. Netflix is notorious for making original content and then doing nothing to put it out there saying, hey, you know what? There's something coming out, or there's something out right now. You should come check this out. Like, they do barely any of that. I can't remember one instance where I've seen, outside of maybe a trailer that I just happened to stumble into on YouTube, to where they promote anything that they do. And with as much effort and as much money as they put into Rebel Moon, if I hadn't been following other people that have movie blogs and vlogs and channels, I wouldn't have known anything about Rebel Moon either. I bet you if I called up 5 of my friends right now and said, hey, what did you think about Rebel Moon? And they'll be like, what is that? Because forever on the lead up to this, people that had heard about it thought that it was going to be something to do with Star Wars. Nobody had any clue on what was going on here. They're like, oh yeah, that's going to be a new Star Wars movie. And it's like, it's not. It's not. I mean, it's like Star Wars, but like worse. This is Star Wars if like the sequels to the original, like the ones that they did with Disney, like the Star Wars, like the Force Awakens and all them, like if they were even worse, they would be this. They would be Rebel Moon. So that's how bad we are with this. So I am going to spoiler the shit out of these 2 movies right now. Because one, I just don't care. They're so horrible. I want to save you guys for actually having to watch these things. And just to the point of talking. So what we got here is a woman, very young, attractive woman, ends up on this moon at the beginning. And she's a farmer in this farming community. But she hasn't been there until recently. And there's, people don't really know her too much because she kind of keeps to herself. But she's kind of starting to feel like she's got a place where she can, live and be in harmony and all this. But they live in a universe to where there was a king, a queen, and their daughter princess, and they ruled over everything, and they had a vast empire until they died, until somebody killed them. And they are very non-specific at the onset, the outset of all this, and how that happened really at the beginning. And it might have been this admiral that was the most powerful admiral of the fleet, and now he's kind of in charge of everything, and you kind of get the feeling that he's not a great guy, which he's not, obviously. And then you kind of get a backstory of this girl who's on the farm, who is, parents were killed, and then this admiral, before he was an admiral, took her in and trained her and all this, and she was like the top, in the military, and she would lead the armies and into these invasions and blah, 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 blah. it sounds pretty good, right? Not really anything that we hadn't heard before. I mean, so what ends up happening is of course, the bad guys show up at the farming community to where, she had thought that she could just hide out because she had gotten tired of all this bullshit, of killing people. She just wanted an easier life, right? And then, she couldn't hide it anymore because, when the bad guys came, then she had to show everybody what a badass she was because she couldn't let, these guys just do whatever to the people that she'd come to love. And then, once she took care of that, then, the bad guys are going to come back. So then she's off, and the quest is to find other warriors that come back and protect these people. And it's not the worst premise. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's, it's not the greatest. It's very, very much traveled, a traveled road that we had seen in other movies. I mean, it's, Lord of the Rings, and I don't know. Do we know any other sci-fi movies where it starts off and the main character is a farmer? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Anywho, so yeah, and that's pretty much, I don't know. I want to spoiler this to you. I don't even want to talk about it because it's just, I've already wasted so much time. And, she eventually, fights this, bad guy and thought she killed him. But then in the second one, he comes back. And now, I mean, she just went out and got all of these warriors. And then that was the end of the first one. Now, the second one starts off with the warriors making it back to the farming community, and getting ready to, stop these bad guys, because now the bad guys want all their grain. That's what they're coming back for, basically. Is, hey, in the first one, they said, listen, you guys need to shut the F up. We're coming back for your grain because we can. In a nutshell, that's what it was, And so now they're going to come back. I will say, if you're not a fan of slow motion shots in your movies, the second movie is not going to be for you. There is so much slow motion in this movie. There's so much. I mean, I was sitting there going, dude, I've been watching this movie, half of this movie, at half speed. It's crazy. It's like this movie, they could have probably taken 15 minutes off this movie just by getting rid of most of the slow motion. I get it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just bad. The characters that she goes and gets, these warriors, there is very little connection made between the viewer and these characters. And because by the time, there's been not nearly enough time for you to make a connection with these characters, right? Because it's been, a movie and a half, and, and not or two movies, I should say. But even in one movie, you should be able to build up something, and what they did was they did one scene where they had like a history dump on each of these characters. This is why I am the way I am, and it literally, they went around and said, I want to know who, the general said, I want to know who I'm fighting with. Tell me your backstory. That's literally what he said. I want you to tell me what you're about. And then they did flashbacks. And that's another thing. These two movies have a shit ton of backflashes or flashbacks. Oh my God. Flashbacks or backflashes, whatever. That too. I don't know. What is that? Like a fart? Jeez. Anyway, it's a horrible movie. The first one was horrible. You have nothing invested into this movie. And the sad thing is, at the end, it sets it up for it to keep going. And I'm pretty sure it's not going. I could be wrong. But after that first one doing not that great, if they have already started making this third one, that's on you, Netflix. Will I watch it? I probably will. I mean, it's not costing me any money. Whatever. But you're not going to... This isn't... I don't know what you gain on Netflix by making something like this, because you're not going to gain viewership, even if this would have been good. So, or if you did gain viewership because of this new franchise, it was going to be very nominal. I don't know. That's just me. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm neither. It's just opinion out there, and I don't know. So I guess that's all I got to say about that. Rebel Moon, if you haven't seen the first one, see it if you want to, and if you've already seen the first one and you want to see the second one to see if it gets better, it doesn't, but I don't know, watch it? It's up to you. So something very exciting just happened. My friend, my companion at these gaming expos, Captain Algebra, he just hit 1,500 subscribers. The crowd goes wild, right? Congratulations to the Cap. He is a very good guy. Over these last handful of years, I've gotten to know Cap fairly well. I've met his family. They're very nice. He's just a really good guy. And, he stays true to who he is on the channel. Now, I know what maybe a lot of you are saying, well, 1,500 is not that much. If you're talking about like YouTubers, big YouTubers or whatever, that it doesn't matter. What he does is he sticks true to who he is. He puts out content that he wants to put out. And, it is what it is. He doesn't chase after the numbers, which he prides himself on. And I'm so glad for that. And, this is coming from a guy who on his best day wishes that he would have 1,500 subscribers. Now, I don't deserve that as of right now, because I don't do as good of a job on my channel as he does. So if you guys get a chance, go over, check out Captain Algebra's channel. He does streaming, I think, every Tuesday and every Friday. He's a much better player at video games than I am. Although at Milwaukee, I came 1 second away from beating him in NFL Blitz on the GameCube. He had one last play and threw a Hail Mary and got a touchdown. That is one lucky sumbitch. So go see Captain Algebra on his channel. Tell him Dan sent you, and tell him he was lucky as shit. Well, I am a relative newcomer when it comes to the iPhone. I had an iPhone as my first smartphone back in the day. It was the iPhone 4. And in between then, I had gone to Android. And I'd had Android for quite some time. And now this past year, I went back to Apple for, whatever reason. I just like their phones. And I never really noticed, but there was no emulators on in the Apple store, the iStore or whatever they call it, which I never realized that like Apple was just like, no, we're not going to let that stuff on there. I guess from what I understand, they were just like, no, we don't want that on here. Well, evidently they've changed their tune a little bit here, and they've let some of that back on. And Delta Emulator for the iOS is now on or in the Apple Store. And it plays, let me get this, I got this list here. It plays all Game Boy games. So like the Game Boy Color, Game Game Boy Advance, I believe. It plays the NES, SNES. It plays Nintendo 64, which I have not tried out yet, which is kind of cool, and Nintendo DS. Now, I've only tried like the normal stuff, like the NES and the SNES and a Game Boy. And it's really easy. It works really, really well. I have only had it for a handful of days here. And hold on here. Let me itch my nose here. I'm not picking. I swear to God, I'm not picking. I'm just itchy as hell. Allergies are just ripping everyone apart here in the Midwest, by the way. If anybody out there that's listening is somebody that goes through seasonal allergies, my heart is with you, brother. I hear you. We're going to get through this together. But anyway, I guess there's really not a whole lot to say about this, except that, out of the games that I played on this, it works fairly well. And I just assumed from, until like a couple weeks ago that emulators were allowed, because, Apple is so much different. Their storefront is so much different than Google. Google can be the wild, wild west sometimes, and Apple is very much like a Nintendo, which I always think of Apple as like kind of the Nintendo of all the smartphones, because they are very strict in what they'll let on there and what their phones can do and what you can do with their phones. So, this is a great thing. I've heard people say, well, this isn't going to change the fact that, you're not going to want your analog, pocket or this and that. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. But the games do play good. The only thing I will say is I'm not a fan of playing on the touch screen, as far as with the controls. They work okay, but I would very much prefer, to add some like controllers to this. And I think they have stuff that you can buy where you can attach it to either side of your phone. Listen to me, a retro gamer here, and I'm like, I think they have controllers on the side. I know they do. I've just never been a big I'm gonna game on my phone guy. So I would assume that those things would work on something like this. Will I buy them for this? Probably not. But congratulations to Apple for finally, laxing up a little bit and letting us get a little dose of some retro goodness on the Apple iPhone. So if you've been a follower for a while, or maybe just a little while, you know that there are things that I love to complain about. I love to hate on things. I love to complain about things. I don't know. I'd like to just say that's because I'm getting older, but if I'm being honest with myself and you guys, I've been like this my whole life. And so, you guys all know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and now I hear collective people going, "Uh-oh, here we go." No. So there is a Star Wars game that has been in development for a while that's going to be coming out fairly soon, which I believe is, let me see here, August 27th of this year. So we still got a little bit at the end of the summer, so not that far away. And so the name of it's Star Wars Outlaws, and it was revealed it was going to come out. It was revealed in like 2023, and I'm pretty sure that I want to say that we covered the trailer for that before we went on our hiatus here. I think. Well, be that as it may. So, this. So now this game's coming out, right? Now, I have no idea if it's going to be good or not. It's supposed to do with, it's not going to be like with the main groups of, the main powers in the galaxy, the Star Wars galaxy. It's going to be with the underworld, like the Hutts and I can't think of the guys that do the spice or whatever. But anyway, it's going to be on the underworld of the Star Wars universe, which is really cool. Okay. Now, this is, of course, coming, modern gaming. Here we go. So now people were starting to hear, well, it's coming out on, which I believe is the Xbox. No, it's coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. Okay. They were hearing, I think IGN wrote an article talking about how that it turns out that a lot of the Hutt missions and factions were going to be locked behind, hey, if you want to play this, you're going to have to pay and get, our online service, which is, what do they call that? I should know this stuff. Where is it? Season pass. Okay. Yeah, it says Ubisoft has come under fire for a single player game, Star Wars Outlaws, having a season pass. Excuse me. I don't know if this is actually going to be true, or if it was going to be true. Ubisoft has responded, said, oh no, that's not them. I know they did, Ubisoft responded and said, look, Ubisoft being the guys that are making this game, they pretty much came back and said, nah, that's not entirely true. There are going to be some things that, you can unlock, through Season Pass. But most of the game you're going to be able to play here. You're going to be able to play most of, the Hutt missions and all this. Okay, look, I read a couple of the articles, and it's very unclear on what if that's exactly what was going to happen. But look, what we do know, what we do know for sure is more than likely is happening here is, yes, it's going to come with stuff that's locked. Okay, this is the economics of modern gaming now, folks. Let's, we can get pissed in the moment, but going forward, you got to know you're not getting the full game anymore. This is that control I was talking to you about in the last episode, or not the last episode. I'm sorry, in my other video that I did earlier about, the digital world. If you haven't watched it, you should go back and watch it. But where we talk about, physical media and, where is that going and why are we just, going to be stuck with digital? That was basically the emphasis on it. And this is exactly, look, they can do that if they want. They can do this if they want, Do you want it? Does it make you mad and sad and anything else that rhymes with that when they do this? Of course it does. But this is the new economics. How do they get more people to sign up for this? Well, incentivize things like this. Here's the full game. Let's face it. The days of getting every game, the full game on a disc, day one is over. That is not happening. It is over. It was over the minute DLC became a thing. Okay? Because, they would come out with the game, and then later on they would give you more DLC content for you to buy and the download. And then if you were really lucky, and it's, even today, if you're really lucky, at some point in the future, they will take that game and make like a special edition or gold edition, and to where you can buy that game with all the DLC already included on it, if you're lucky. But they don't do that with every game. And there's nothing saying that they're going to guarantee that they're going to do it with any of the games that you buy today. Now, I'm not a big-time gamer going forward here as far as a modern gamer goes. So I don't know how often they do that, if they even still do that. I'm pretty sure they do. But the reason why I want to talk about this, not to beat on, I'm not saying anything wrong about Ubisoft or, the, digital or whatever. Again, it is what it is. If this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to be. I'm just either going to have to get used to it or just deal with it. Okay? And I think that's where I'm at right now. Here's the thing. A lot of what I have here in my game room has been developed by people recently, Analog, with their new retro gaming systems. Like businesses like Super Rare or Unlimited Games, who come out with these run of these games that they sell to you. Maybe you couldn't get on physical, but they're going to do it for you. They're going to figure out a way to get the licensing and put it on a physical thing. Guys, instead of us complaining about, hey, this is the way it's going to be. Yeah, it's the way it's going to be. Instead of us maybe complaining, which I'm still going to complain, but we should take some of that energy and support these people that are making stuff like this. People that are taking time to develop these emulators to where we can play this stuff later on and not have to worry about, the other companies having control. And, if you guys want to have a talk on whether that's legal or not with some of that stuff, we can have that conversation. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you this right now. If they can do that, if they are able to hold games and stuff like that, that is their choice, and they can do that. I know I'm mincing words here and not making a lot of good points here because I'm having trouble finding the words here. But what I'm getting at here is, the gaming world is a lot of give and take. Okay? We want to buy these games and we want to consume them and experience them as much in their full, the full range of potential as they are. And what I mean by that is I want to play as much as that game will allow me to, with all the DLC, with everything. I mean, back in the day, whatever came on that cart, that was it. That's what we got, and we got to play it good or bad, right or wrong. If it was a great game, great. If it was a bad game, that sucks, but you moved on. Nowadays, obviously, it's different. A bad game that you get now may be better in another month because of updates. Now they're, throwing, stuff up behind walls, getting you to pay for stuff. Well, if that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. There is nothing we can do about that. But what we can do, ladies and gentlemen, is, like I said, support these other companies that will put this on physical media. And, maybe this isn't saying that they're going to get every single game and just be able to put it on the physical media. That's not what it's going to be. But what it does help is it encourages. There's more of a chance at us getting a physical copy of this stuff, us actually taking that control and having control over our copy so we can play this and not have to worry about, hey, is this going to be playable, in 10 years? Am I going to be able to download this? Is there going to be DLC that I'm still going to have to pay over and over and over again? Because they're not going to give up that money. And they are making a lot of money off of that. DLC is a huge moneymaker for these guys. This seasonal pass stuff, which I don't do, but I heard on the Xbox is a really good deal. Be that as it may, that is a huge moneymaker, especially for Xbox, because Xbox is buying up all these developers and all of these places that have rights to these games. It isn't costing them anything to throw these games up. They're not paying for licensing. So that's all money in their pockets, buddy. Anyway, it's turned into another rant. Holy shit. I'm sorry, guys. I was really wanting to sound all positive and stuff. Look, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, you know, don't let this keep you from playing the game. You know, if you really wanted to play it, try it out. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna try it out. I don't know when. It'll probably be a little bit later down the road, but I am gonna buy this game. I am gonna play it, and you never know. I mean, yeah, like maybe some of this stuff isn't gonna be playable, but you know, the game hasn't even come out yet. We don't know how that's going to affect the gameplay. You know, we don't know what they're doing. Now, I do kind of wonder, you know, if Ubisoft kind of reshuffled their feet here a little bit, reshuffled some stuff here as far as changing their tune on what they were going to actually have available and not have available, you know, at go time without having the seasonal pass. Who knows? Who cares? Get the game. If you really want to play the game, get the game. And then if stuff sucks after that, let's, you know, because the problem is none of us have bought this game. These articles came out. No one's played the game. The game's not even out. It's not even out until August, and people are already hitting that button. Look I'm talking about it. I don't know why I'm even talking about it. Now that I think about it, hey, I'm running the nut bags too, so whatever. You know, play it, don't play it. I don't give a shit. We still gotta, hey, go back, play Star Wars Fallen Order and you know, whatever the other one, Survivor. Such great games. Such great games. Getting ready to do another playthrough on Fallen Order. But I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, guys. I did have something else I wanted to talk about, but I think we're going to leave that until next time. I got some stuff going on here. I got some stuff up in the oven. I'm doing a little bacon today. Did I tell you? Smells good, but I got to get up there before everything starts on fire. So thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Listen to me rant, you poor, poor people. And I don't know. You're the guys that keep coming back. All right, guys. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, good night and goodbye.
I had a dream about this moment when I was making love to my wife Donna on top of her. Powerful thrusts, feeling the sultry night air, heavy breath. My son Gabriel walked in, little boy. My wife sprung out of bed and said, "No, Gabriel, leave." I said, "No, honey. Shut your mouth, let him watch."